Good evening, my weary academics, and welcome to History to Sleep By, where we nerd out and conk out. If you enjoy calm, narrated history documentaries, or just need a reliable friend to help with restless nights, please subscribe, leave a like, and maybe share a comment about what's happening in your life. That way, you'll always find your way back to us. Now, let's begin tonight's journey. In the serene setting of Paris, on a day in early September 1783, a significant moment unfolded in the tapestry of history. The Treaty of Paris was signed, marking the end of a long and arduous conflict between Great Britain and its former colonies. The air was filled with the gentle rustle of parchment and the soft murmur of voices in agreement. British and American commissioners gathered in a room that would witness the birth of a new nation. Among the British representatives was David Hartley, a steadfast figure in the negotiations. On the American side, the delegation included John Adams, Benjamin Franklin, and John Jay, each bringing their own wisdom and resolve to the table. The journey to this moment had been paved by preliminary articles signed on November 30th, 1782. These articles laid the groundwork for peace, establishing a framework that would lead to the definitive treaty. The commissioners were tasked with transforming the aspirations of two nations into a tangible agreement. The room was filled with a sense of solemnity and hope as quills dipped into ink and signatures were carefully inscribed. The treaty itself comprised several key articles, each contributing to the new relationship between Britain and the United States. The first article was perhaps the most significant, as Britain formally recognized the independence and sovereignty of the United States. This acknowledgement was a monumental step, a formal acceptance of the new nation's place in the world. It was a moment of validation for the American cause, a recognition of the sacrifices and struggles that had led to this point. The second article addressed the boundaries of the United States, stretching from the Atlantic Ocean to the Mississippi River. To the north, the boundary extended to the Great Lakes and the St. Lawrence River, with the St. Croix River in Maine serving as an eastern marker. To the south, the boundary was set at the 31st parallel. These expansive boundaries would shape the future of the young nation, providing room for growth and exploration. Fishing rights were also a topic of negotiation, addressed in the third article. The treaty granted Americans rights to fish on the Grand Banks and in the Gulf of St. Lawrence. Additionally, they were permitted to dry and cure their catch on unsettled shores. These rights were vital to the economic well-being of the new nation, ensuring access to valuable resources. The fourth article dealt with debts, stipulating that lawful private debts were to be paid. This provision aimed to maintain financial integrity and honor obligations, fostering a sense of trust between the former adversaries. It was a nod to the importance of economic stability in the aftermath of conflict. The fifth article addressed the delicate issue of loyalists, those who had remained loyal to the British Crown during the war. The treaty recommended that Congress consider restitution and compensation for these individuals, though it did not compel the states to take action. This clause reflected the complexities of reconciliation, acknowledging the diverse loyalties that had existed during the conflict. The sixth article outlined the evacuation of British forces from American territory. The treaty stipulated that this withdrawal should occur with all convenient speed, including the removal of troops from posts and the return of property. This provision marked the physical departure of British presence, a symbolic end to colonial rule. In the seventh article, the exchange of prisoners and restitution of records were addressed. These clauses aimed to restore normalcy and ensure that the remnants of war were resolved. It was a gesture of goodwill, a step towards healing the wounds of conflict. Finally, the eighth article touched upon navigation and commerce. While a comprehensive framework was left to future arrangements, certain specifications were included to guide the relationship between the two nations. This article recognized the importance of trade and cooperation in the years to come. The signing of the Treaty of Paris was a moment of diplomatic confirmation. It solidified the independence of the United States, defined its expansive boundaries, and granted access to vital fisheries. The clauses on debts, loyalists, and evacuation reflected the complexities of post-war reconciliation. As the ink dried on the parchment, the commissioners knew they had crafted an agreement that would shape the future of both nations. The room, once filled with the sounds of negotiation, now stood silent, a witness to the birth of a new chapter in history. As night fell over Paris, the world had changed, and a new era had begun. In the quiet aftermath of the Treaty of Paris, the world outside continued its inexorable turn. The ink may have dried, but the implications of the treaty were only beginning to unfold. Across the Atlantic, the young United States faced the daunting task of nation-building. The newfound independence brought with it the challenge of uniting 13 diverse colonies into a single entity. Each state held its own interests, its own identity, and its own vision for the future. The Articles of Confederation provided a loose framework, but the need for a stronger, more cohesive government was becoming apparent. Amidst the rolling hills and burgeoning towns, debates raged over the balance of power between state and federal authorities. The specter of tyranny loomed large in the minds of those who had fought against British rule. Yet, the weaknesses of the Articles became increasingly evident. The lack of a central authority to levy taxes or regulate commerce threatened the economic stability of the fledgling nation. As the states bickered over boundaries and tariffs, the dream of unity seemed fragile. In the bustling port cities, merchants and traders felt the immediate impact of the treaty. The reopening of trade routes promised prosperity, but also competition. British goods, once scarce, flooded the markets, challenging local industries. The promise of access to the rich fisheries off Newfoundland was a boon, yet it also required the development of a robust maritime industry. Ships, sails, and seamen became the lifeblood of the coastal economies, weaving a complex tapestry of commerce and culture. The countryside, too, felt the ripples of change. Farmers who had borne the brunt of wartime shortages now faced the challenge of transitioning from a war economy to a peacetime one. The promise of Western lands, opened by the treaty, beckoned with the allure of opportunity. Yet this expansion was not without its perils. Native American tribes, who had not been party to the treaty, found their lands and lives disrupted by the westward push of settlers. The frontier became a place of both hope and conflict, as cultures clashed and new communities took root. In the halls of government, leaders grappled with the legacy of the war and the promise of peace. Figures like George Washington, who had led the Continental Army to victory, now pondered the future role of the military in a republic wary of standing armies. The need for a navy to protect American interests on the high seas became a topic of urgent discussion. Diplomats, meanwhile, navigated the complex waters of international relations, seeking to establish the United States as a respected member of the global community. The Loyalists, those who had remained faithful to the crown, faced an uncertain future. Many had already fled to Canada or Britain, seeking refuge from the animosity that lingered in the wake of war. For those who remained, reintegration into American society was fraught with challenges. The treaty's provisions for the restitution of property and debts were often met with resistance, as old wounds proved slow to heal. As the seasons turned, the land itself seemed to reflect the nation's transformation. Fields once trampled by armies began to yield crops again. Towns rebuilt, roads improved, and the pulse of daily life resumed its steady rhythm. Yet, beneath the surface, the questions of identity and governance simmered. The Constitutional Convention, still a few years away, would eventually address these issues, crafting a new framework for the nation. But for now, the United States stood at a crossroads, its path uncertain, its future unwritten. The Treaty of Paris had ended one chapter, but the story of America was far from complete. The challenges of peace proved as daunting as those of war, demanding vision, compromise, and perseverance. In the quiet moments of reflection, as the stars twinkled over the vast expanse of the continent, the people of this new nation pondered their place in the world. They were bound by a shared history, yet driven by diverse dreams. The journey ahead would be long and arduous, but it was one they would undertake together, united in their quest for liberty and justice. In the heart of this newly independent land, the spirit of possibility thrived. The lessons of the past whispered their wisdom, while the promise of the future beckoned with open arms. It was a time of great uncertainty, but also of great hope. The world had indeed changed, and with it, the destiny of a nation. As dawn broke over the eastern seaboard, the light of a new day illuminated the path forward, inviting all who called this land home to step boldly into the future. In the quietude of early morning, as the sun cast its gentle glow across fields and forests, a sense of renewal permeated the air. Communities, both old and newly formed, began to stir with life. Farmers rose with the dawn, tending to their crops and livestock, their toil a testament to the enduring connection between land and livelihood. In towns and cities, the clatter of horse-drawn carriages echoed along cobblestone streets, mingling with the hum of daily commerce. Merchants opened their shops, displaying wares that spoke of distant lands and local craftsmanship alike. Amidst this bustle, the halls of governance were abuzz with deliberation. Leaders, both seasoned and new, gathered to chart the course of this fledgling nation. They debated with fervor, their voices a blend of conviction and compromise. The task before them was monumental, for they were architects of a new order, tasked with crafting a framework that would endure the tests of time. Their discussions were guided by principles forged in the fires of revolution, yet tempered by the pragmatism of governance. In the homes of ordinary citizens, conversations mirrored those of their leaders. Around hearths and dinner tables, families discussed the changes unfolding around them. The air was thick with questions and dreams, each person contemplating their role in this grand experiment. Education became a beacon of hope as schools opened their doors to eager minds. Teachers with patience and passion imparted knowledge that would empower a generation to think critically and act wisely. The land itself seemed to mirror the aspirations of its people. Rivers flowed with a quiet determination, carving paths through the landscape, much like the pioneers who ventured westward in search of new beginnings. Forests stood tall, their ancient trees silent witnesses to the unfolding story of a nation. The vast plains stretched endlessly, a canvas upon which the future would be painted. Nature, in its steadfast beauty, offered both solace and challenge, reminding all who traversed its expanse of the delicate balance between progress and preservation. In the midst of this burgeoning society, the arts flourished. Writers, painters, and musicians found inspiration in the world around them, capturing the essence of a nation in transition. Their works spoke of hope and hardship, of dreams realized and deferred. Through their creativity, they wove a tapestry of cultural identity, enriching the soul of the nation. The melodies of folk songs echoed through valleys and villages, while the pages of novels turned with the promise of adventure and introspection. As seasons changed, so too did the rhythm of life. Harvest festivals celebrated the bounty of the earth, bringing communities together in joyous revelry. The chill of winter ushered in a time of reflection as families gathered to share stories and strengthen bonds. Each season, with its unique challenges and gifts, marked the passage of time, a reminder of the cyclical nature of existence. In this era of transformation, the spirit of innovation thrived. Inventors and thinkers pushed the boundaries of possibility, their minds alight with ideas that would shape the future. Workshops buzzed with activity as hands crafted tools and machines that promised to revolutionize daily life. The seeds of industry were sown, their roots taking hold in the fertile soil of ambition and ingenuity. Yet amidst the progress, there remained a keen awareness of the struggles that lay ahead. The journey toward equality and justice was fraught with obstacles, as voices long silenced began to demand recognition. The ideals of liberty, so fiercely fought for, were tested in the crucible of reality. But even in the face of adversity, hope endured, a guiding light for those who sought to build a more just and inclusive society. As night fell over the land, the stars emerged, a celestial reminder of the vastness of the universe and the smallness of individual existence. Yet within this vast expanse, each person held the power to shape their destiny, to contribute to the unfolding story of their nation. The dreams of a people, diverse and dynamic, intertwined to form a narrative of resilience and renewal. In the quiet moments before sleep, as the world settled into stillness, the whispers of history mingled with the promise of tomorrow. It was a time of great possibility, a moment suspended between what had been and what could be. As the nation slumbered, the dreams of its people took flight, soaring on the wings of hope toward a future yet unwritten. In the gentle embrace of night, the land lay wrapped in a quilt of serenity, a quietude that belied the bustling energy of the day. The air, cool and crisp, carried the scent of earth and leaves, a reminder of the natural world that cradled human endeavors. Beneath the canopy of stars, the landscape seemed to breathe in unison, a living tapestry woven from the threads of countless lives. Each star, a distant sun, whispered tales of time and space, of worlds beyond imagining, yet intimately connected to the earthbound dreams below. Amidst this tranquil scene, the echoes of history lingered, a soft murmur that spoke of struggles and triumphs, of paths forged through adversity. The land itself bore witness to the passage of time, its contours shaped by the hands of those who had come before. Fields once tilled by generations past now lay fallow, resting in anticipation of new growth. Rivers, eternal in their flow, carved their way through valleys, their waters a testament to the persistence of nature and the continuity of life. In the quiet hours, when the world seemed to pause, the mind wandered through the corridors of memory, revisiting the milestones that marked the journey of a people. There were moments of profound change, when the course of history shifted under the weight of collective action. These were times when voices, once silenced, rose in unison to demand recognition, to assert their place in the unfolding narrative. The echoes of these voices resonated still, a reminder of the power of unity and the enduring quest for justice. As the night deepened, the dreams of the nation intertwined with the dreams of individuals, each a thread in the intricate fabric of society. These dreams, diverse in their origins, were bound by a common desire for a better tomorrow. In the stillness, the aspirations of countless souls took flight, unfettered by the constraints of the waking world. They soared above the boundaries of the present, envisioning a future where harmony and understanding reigned. In this nocturnal reverie, the lessons of the past whispered their wisdom, urging reflection and introspection. The struggles of those who had walked before served as a guide, illuminating the path forward. Their sacrifices, etched into the annals of history, were a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. In honoring their legacy, the present generation found the courage to confront the challenges of their own time, to strive for a world that embraced the ideals of equality and compassion. The night, with its gentle embrace, offered solace and renewal, a chance to pause and gather strength for the journey ahead. In the quietude, there was a sense of connection, a realization that each person was part of something greater than themselves. The dreams that danced in the mind's eye were not solitary visions, but part of a collective tapestry, woven from the hopes and aspirations of many. As dawn approached, the first light of day began to paint the horizon, a soft glow that heralded the promise of a new beginning. The world stirred from its slumber, the land awakening to the gentle caress of morning. The dreams of the night, though ephemeral, left their mark, a quiet resolve that lingered in the heart. With the rising sun came the opportunity to turn dreams into reality, to take the lessons of the past and forge a future that honored the best of what had been. In this delicate balance between night and day, between dream and reality, lay the essence of human endeavor. It was a dance of hope and perseverance, a testament to the enduring spirit of those who dared to dream. As the nation awoke, the whispers of history mingled with the promise of tomorrow, a gentle reminder that the story was far from over. The future, unwritten and full of possibility, awaited the touch of those who would shape it, guided by the light of the stars and the wisdom of the past. In the quiet of the morning, as the world stirred to life, the echoes of history wove themselves into the fabric of the present. The streets, once silent under the cloak of night, began to hum with the rhythm of daily life. Footsteps echoed on cobblestones, mingling with the soft murmur of voices and the distant clang of church bells. It was a symphony of existence, each note a testament to the resilience of those who walked these paths before. The city, a tapestry of old and new, stood as a living monument to the passage of time. Ancient buildings, their stones weathered by centuries, stood shoulder to shoulder with the sleek lines of modernity. Each structure told its own story, a chapter in the larger narrative of a people who had seen much endured much, and yet continued to dream. The air was thick with the scent of possibility, a reminder that the past was not a chain, but a foundation upon which to build. In the heart of the city, a marketplace bustled with life. Vendors called out, their voices rising above the clatter of carts and the chatter of buyers. Here, the past and present met in a dance as old as civilization itself. The market was a place of exchange, not just of goods, but of ideas and stories. It was a living testament to the enduring human spirit, a place where dreams took root and grew. Amidst the crowd, an elderly man paused, his eyes scanning the scene with a quiet reverence. His steps were measured, his gaze thoughtful, as he moved through the throng. He was a keeper of stories, a guardian of memories, and his presence was a bridge between what had been and what was yet to come. In his hands, he held a small notebook, its pages filled with the scribbled remnants of a lifetime of observations. As he walked, he paused to speak with a young woman selling flowers, her stall a riot of color and fragrance. She smiled warmly, her hands deftly arranging blooms into bouquets. The exchange was brief, a few words shared, but in that moment, the past and future touched, a connection made across the span of generations. The old man nodded, his eyes crinkling in a smile, before continuing on his way. The sun climbed higher in the sky, casting long shadows that stretched across the cobblestones. The city moved with a purpose, each person a thread in the intricate weave of life. The old man found a bench in a quiet square, where the noise of the market faded to a gentle murmur. He sat, opening his notebook, and began to write. His pen moved steadily, capturing the essence of the morning, the stories of the people, the whispers of history that lingered in the air. As the day unfolded, the city continued its dance, a seamless blend of past and present, dream and reality. The old man wrote on, his words a tribute to the enduring spirit of those who had come before, and a gift to those who would follow. His notebook, filled with the stories of a lifetime, was a testament to the power of dreams, a reminder that the future was not a distant horizon, but a journey that began with each new day. The sun dipped lower in the sky, painting the city in hues of gold and amber. The air cooled, and the streets began to empty as the day drew to a close. The old man closed his notebook, tucking it safely into his coat. He rose, his movements slow but sure, and began the walk home. The city, now bathed in the soft glow of twilight, was a place of quiet beauty, a sanctuary where dreams could flourish. As he walked, the old man paused once more, his gaze lingering on the familiar streets. He felt the weight of history in the stones beneath his feet, the promise of the future in the air around him. It was a moment of reflection, a quiet acknowledgement of the journey that had brought him here and the path that lay ahead. With a final, lingering look, he turned and continued on his way, his heart full of hope and the knowledge that the story was far from over. In the gathering dusk, the city settled into the embrace of night, the stars beginning to twinkle in the velvet sky. The old man reached his home, a small, cozy place filled with the warmth of memories. He stepped inside, closing the door gently behind him, and the quiet of the evening wrapped around him like a comforting blanket. The dreams of the night awaited, ephemeral yet powerful, ready to inspire a new day, a new chapter in the endless story of life.